Via Heza asked me the same question.
Yeah.
And I had such a bad answer. Do you know anything about like quantum mechanics?
Hello guys, Alex Fedotoff here, and today I have an amazing guest, Sebastian Ghiorghiu, very successful entrepreneur, young entrepreneur. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Very excited to speak with you.
Cool. We're both Romanians.
I thought you were just Ukrainian.
No,
close, almost the same
yeah,
thing. But
so basically the city where I lived before 1940, it belonged to Romania.
Okay.
And after that, the Soviet Union took over.
if you were close to the Romanian border, it's very possible that my dad, when he was escaping Romania to come here in like 1980, stayed at some of your friends' house because he went to the Ukrainian border, stayed with some friends, and he was friends with the Ukrainian police and the border patrol. And then he went, after he got into Ukraine, he was able to go to the asylum in like another country and then go to America.
Wow.
So he did escape through Ukraine. That's pretty crazy.
Small world.
Yeah.
Cool. So for those people that may be new to you, if you can kind of break down some of your story and
So my parents came here in like the 1980s, like the 80s. They were younger, I think 17 years old, 18 years old. They kind of immigrated here. Obviously, you know, Romanian was suffering. It was communist regime, Ceausescu. Right after they left, like 6 years after they left, like that whole thing fell apart. So they got out like right before it was all over anyway. But anyway, America is more opportunity than most countries. So good thing we came here. My father just came to Detroit, started truck driving and doing construction, and actually built up a solid business and had a solid net worth when I was young, but I didn't have access to it because my parents got divorced when we were 4, and my father was very, very cheap, in my opinion. But he was a businessman actually, and he was successful, but he lost most of his business in 2008.
Wow.
Because he was over leveraged, so he had too much debt that he couldn't pay. Then when I was 12, I moved with my mom to Arizona, out of Michigan, and because my mom's family lives in Arizona, and yeah, that's pretty much it. My mom didn't go to high school. She didn't go to college. Whatever they have in Romania, I don't know what it is. Maybe they have their version of high school. Maybe that's the last thing she did. But she's cleaning houses, working at Wendy's. We were raised very poor, very, very poor, did not have money. My mom told me a story about a time that there was one egg left and I had to go to school and she was craving eggs and I was hungry and she made the last egg. She's like, she said, I've never, ever wanted an egg so bad in my life, but I made it for you, fed you so that you can have a full belly, or not full, but not an empty stomach while you go to school. There's some crazy stories of barely being able to survive. The electricity went out in our house one time when we were living in Detroit. We couldn't afford to pay it. So yeah, just grew up, very, very poor just because my parents split. They weren't together to support their kids. And my mom wasn't highly educated. So she was just working low paying jobs to try to support 4 kids, which is hard. So that's pretty much where I came from.
Wow, that's crazy. And so, moving forward, like 10, 20 years right now, you're like young entrepreneur, you're making good money. And is that something that still drives you until today?
Like the background?
Yeah, the background, like supporting your family and stuff like that.
Yeah, so a lot of the motivation I think that I have comes from the shame of growing up poor and like the drive to want to fit in. So when I was in school and when I was in those years where your brain is developing and it's very important for you to fit in, like in high school or even before high school, if you're not fitting in, it's causing like a lot of problems. It's making you feel shameful, and shame is a very powerful emotion, the most powerful emotion people feel. So that was driving me because I didn't have things that other kids had. And I was like, you know what? I hate this. I just want to fit in. I just want to be cool. I want to be like the kids. I want to have friends. When I grow up, I'm going to make money. I don't ever want to worry about money. I don't ever want to worry about it. So I was obsessed with it. So that still drives me today. Yeah, I think that's like a part of how my brain works. You probably understand this. I don't know if you grew up poor also. I'm going to assume it wasn't the best. But you understand that like how your brain develops, like it kind of like, once you develop, that's kind of how you go on throughout the rest of life.
Yeah.
To some degree, of course, you can grow and you can broaden your perspectives on life, and you can understand you grew up poor and you're no longer poor, whatever. But for me right now, even today, I'm terrified of losing what I have. It's not like I go out there and work because I want to make more money, because I want to buy like an even more expensive car. It's not because I want to buy even more expensive house or get all the luxuries in life that I don't have access to yet, like the crazy yachts or whatever. It's just because I'm terrified of the place that I came from.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back there. That's scary. Even though it's like nearly impossible for that to happen because I'm smart with my money and I've invested my money and I'm frugal and I don't spend money stupidly and I don't waste it. And that's just how I am. Even though it's probably impossible for me to ever go there again, I'm still scared of it. I probably will always be scared. Does that make sense?
I mean, I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm the same. Yeah. It's I think it's kind of the trauma that you have along those period and emotional connection and like relationship that you have with money in general, right? When you feel it's kind of like scarce, right? And you have to protect it. I had exactly the same. For me, like I grew up pretty much almost like without my mom because my mom went to Israel to work like basically cleaning houses and stuff like that for like 7 years. So between ages of, and she was there illegally, so she couldn't like go and visit us. From the age of like 7 and 15, I haven't seen my mom. If you think about it, like 90% of people struggling with money. And I guess so many people have grown up poor, and at the same time, very small percentage of people go and take like extraordinary measures to actually get rich or at least get out of that kind of like, what do you think is that?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. I think that, okay, so basically there's a lot of people that are struggling with money and there's an abundance of opportunities. So why don't more people go and try to find the opportunity and create better lives for themselves? I think that there's more than one reason that this happens, but the first thing that comes to my mind is that they don't know, or they don't know about this information. And if they do know about this information, these opportunities, they don't believe that these things are real. So they stop themselves. So like, imagine if you were born in like a small town and, you have very rudimentary tools and very like primitive lifestyle. This is actually a real example. So there's this uncontacted tribes in Brazil. So they live in small tribes and they're uncontacted. They have bows and arrows. They hunt for their food. They don't have clothes like we have, and we leave them alone. And they don't know that we have planes and guns and whatever, factories and trains. They don't know that. So like, imagine if imagine going to them and telling them about these things, they would be like confused, or they wouldn't think it would be real. It would be like magic to them. So I think in the same way, most people don't know of most of the opportunities to make money online. Maybe they've heard about it a little bit. And if you go to the next stage and they do know about them, say they watch our channels.
Yeah.
I think if you get to that stage, the next speed bump is that, okay, you don't believe that's real, because you've never seen that in your life. They've come from everything in their life up to the point where they got to our channel, watching our channel. Nothing that we talk about connects back to anything that they've ever seen in their life. They've never seen people that are 22 years old that make millions of dollars a year on the internet. That's like, they're like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. So they reject it. And because they reject it, I think that it's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot in a way. It's kind of like you have to get over a wall that you built. Like you're trying to go forward, but you're building a wall and like stopping yourself. So I think that's why is they just don't really believe it and they reject it.
How was that paradigm shift happening for you?
So I think the thing for me, and I think this is common between other people, is that for me, it's two things. One, first of all, I was so obsessed with the idea of getting past it that I almost didn't care if it was real. Like I didn't sit there and think about, oh, this is not a real thing. Like I didn't care. I just wanted to go there. And I was like almost kind of like thinking about it irrationally, like almost like a psychopath. Like, I don't care. I just have to try. Like, I just have to do it. And maybe like in the rest of life, that's a bad way to think. But in this area, to be like crazy enough to believe in something that you have never seen before, that actually was like to my benefit. Like I got lucky because I was just crazy enough to think that I could do it, and then like along the way you get small wins here and there, and then that starts to change everything. Like you make $400 in a day. I remember when I did this when I was in high school with ecom, and I was like, wait a minute, I can make money on the internet, even if it's not a lot. Like I just made a few $100s, and like that's more than I make working a job. And then you get to 1,000 a day, and then you get to 2,000 a day, and you're like, okay, now I'm making what I made in a week in one day, and I didn't even work. Like I just ran ads, you know, and you get to 10,000 a day, 30. And then like after that, you're like, okay, now I understand. Now I get it. And then you can go even further and you can be like, I get how people make $1 million in a day. I get how there's billionaires, and you can see the journey and the perspective. So I think most people just get stuck there in the beginning.
We have like similar kind of, because pain was driving me as well, right? In a way, I mean, humans are driven by two things, right? Either it's avoiding pain or gaining pleasure, right? So we were like, in a way, like running away from poverty, right? Like we're like, and we didn't care like how we got there. So all of these like beliefs.
Anything is better than where we are coming from. Anything's better.
Yes. We're like burning the bridges. It, you know, we go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look on Instagram, right? And I mean, everyone portrays like the best life possible, right? Everyone's like, everything's perfect. You know, they're having vacations, they're having cars, they're having like mansions, you know, everything's perfect for everyone. So in a way, I mean, that should like inspire some people, right?
Sure.
But still, it's probably a very small percentage of people that kind of like actually inspired and go on that journey and kind of, you know, figure stuff out. So it almost seems like probably pain is better motivation than pleasure.
I think 100%. I think this is a fact, actually. I think it's true that the fear of losing is a greater feeling inside than the idea of winning, than the pleasure of winning. I think people like that, you'll feel so much stronger the fear of losing, and that will drive you so much more. Like if you're going into a boxing fight, you think about, I just don't want to lose. I don't want to lose versus like, oh, I'm going to be the champion of the world. It's like, I don't want to lose and be humiliated. Losing is like the fear, and it's like the negative, and the negative is always more powerful just because like we're animals. We have instinct. We have survival instincts. So fear is a negative driver, and that has to be the most prominent emotion. Like negative has to be the most prominent because that's what keeps us alive. Because if we're scared, we have to do whatever it takes if we're scared for survival. But in the other case, it's not as powerful. I think this is true. I'm not saying it like a scientist would say or like a psychologist, but I think this is a factual thing. So you're right.
It's interesting, right? Because so there's a pain, right? This is the pain, this is the pleasure, right? Let's say here you're making like, I don't know, pain is making like $0 per month or whatever. And then there's the pleasure. It's making, I don't know, different people have different standards. For some, it's, you know, hundreds of thousands. And most people are in the middle.
They get comfortable, you mean?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, right? So it's like, they're kind of like, it's kind of like painful, and it's kind of like they don't like some things about what they do and how they live and stuff like that. But it's like not uncomfortable enough for them to kind of like go and figure out some alternative ways.
Yeah. I think that humans are really good at adapting at the environments that they're in. And I think that they're just used to living like that. I think they're just like, it's just normal. And it's not like extremely painful, like you said, but it's just like, hey, I can't buy tickets to do this thing with you until I get paid next week. And it's not like a big deal. It's just normal. That's how it's always been. But if you transcend that, that becomes a place of fear, in my opinion. You're like, I could never imagine having to wait to get paid to buy something. That's crazy. Like I would be losing my mind. I would feel like I'm not like, I don't have enough. I would feel like I'm going to die. But I think people just adapt. Like in not Venezuela, in Argentina right now, people deal with hyperinflation. And there's a documentary where a guy goes and interviews the local people there, and he asks them like, how do you live like this? Like they have to calculate their prices of the cookies at their store 3 times a day. Like somebody's in there trying to buy flour, and then they're like, hey, hold on, you can't, like the price has changed. It's gone up since you walked in. And they have to do these things, and it's like, how do you live like that? Like we as Americans were like, how do you do that? And they're like, this is life. This is what we do. This is how it is. And their way of life is way more difficult and way more stressful than Americans' way of life, but they manage and they get used to it, you know? And I think it's the same thing. You just, hey, you accept it. Like, this is our life, you know? This is how it is. This is how it has to be.
We have several people from Argentina on our team, and they appreciate the opportunity so much. They're working like a lot. They're working a lot.
That's why immigrants do better than people that grow up in rich countries, because they've seen the other side. They have that grit, something that me and you understand.
Yeah.
They have that grit, and that's why they outperform and outwork people that are born in richer countries.
So how did you discover e-commerce? What year was that?
So I had just gotten out of high school. It was right at the end of that. So it must have been like 2017, late 17 to early 18, in that area. I was doing real estate, and I wanted to learn how to make money in the meantime when I was not selling homes. And I looked
like selling homes, like you were buying home, or like you wholesaling?
I wanted to just be a real estate agent. So just to like, if you wanted to buy a home, I'll find one for you, and I'll work with the seller and get you a house that you want, just like a normal agent. And then
you were young. How old are you?
18. I just turned 18. Yeah.
Can you be like real estate? Is it legal to be?
18 is the legal age.
Oh, really?
So I remember I turned 18 in January. So as soon as I turned 18, I was in the school. I was the youngest person in the entire school. Yeah, I was the youngest person. Everyone else is like there. I was sitting next to a girl who was like 55 years old, a girl, and we were like buddies. We were always helping each other and stuff. I forgot her name. She was such a nice lady, but her sister was a real estate agent, and she was making $60,000 a month. And she told me that. And after she told me that, I was like, I'm going to sit next to you. I was like, I'm going to be friends with you because your sister knows something that I want to have. But anyway, while I was studying, I was like, how do I make money in the meantime? Because while I was doing real estate, I was also doing caregiving. I was taking care of old people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had to make money because I wasn't making money from real estate. So I was like, basic income is caregiving, real estate on the side for big income. And then while I'm not selling deals, I need to make money on the internet. So this was right when I graduated high school because I wasn't going to go to college. So I was like, I got to start figuring it out. That's when I found Dan Da Silva.
Even though you've had, let's say like real estate, one opportunity had another opportunity, you were doing caregiving, but on top of that, right, you were like looking even for another opportunity. You kind of like probably wanted to maximize your chances, or what was kind of it's like, why, for example, not go all in on real estate, or there's like very limited opportunities, or, caregiving, like build a company in caregiving and like have, people kind of like working. So
yeah, I see what you're saying. I think during that stage of life, I wasn't trying to think rationally and be like a strategist. I was like being impulsive. I had no patience. I was like, okay, I'm going to try.
We're shaking, both of us.
Yeah.
Right? I'm also sitting then.
Yeah, just impulsive. I just had to try. I was like, okay, let's do it. I don't care. I don't know. Did you ever go like that through that too? Or were you like, when you started your business, were you like more strategizing things? Or
I had a lot of like limiting beliefs. Like, I'm still working on them. It's like, it's work in progress. Cause like, I don't know your upbringing. My upbringing was kind of like very like, hey, you shut the up. You like just sit. And like, if you do something outside of the box, right? I was bullied in school, stuff like that. And so I was carrying all of those like limiting beliefs throughout my whole life until the age of like 25. I started my like kind of like even thinking about business like 25, 26.
What did you do until then? Like from 18 to 25?
I was working in a factory.
Oh, okay. So you were just doing the normal life.
And the reason I was working in a factory is because like my parents told me, yeah, it's like, I was, that's okay to work on the factory. Probably along that time, like I figured out that my parents, for me specifically, they were not like a good influence. My wife helped me kind of like to realize that, and I started, pretty much kind of like I slowed down the communication with them because they were like, oh, how is work? Do you have work? Do you have work? It's because they never had a business, right? Their mindset was like, you go in the factory, you work, come home, and that's just kind of the cycle. And so even though like at that point, like I was so frustrated with working in the factory, and I'm like, I'll figure out another way. And that's where I started to get into like first like freelancing, and then over time it was e-commerce. But I was like, I still told my parents that I work in a factory, and I was already like a millionaire. I made my first meal like clean net, and only then I'm like, yeah, I'm not working in a factory, and it was shocking for them. They're like, how the you're not working in a factory? Mm-hmm. And so I love my parents, I support them, but I think it's important to kind of like realize what influences you have. If you have friends, right, and let's say everyone is kind of like, let's say has like a, average job, right, and everyone's like, kind of like, okay, and then you say like you want to start a business, they probably will tell you like, what kind of, are you entrepreneur? Like what what are you thinking? Like I think it's probably one of the first steps to just cut those influences. Yeah,
people are definitely very, very influenced by the people around them. And if you think that you're not, then it's just your mind playing tricks on you. Because you are, even if you're at a very high level of thinking, you still get influenced a lot by other people. And yeah, like a lot of our parents, maybe they're like in the conformist group of people. Like they conform to the normal things, and this is how we do things. This is how life is supposed to go. You're supposed to get a job and do this. And like, if you don't, like, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, why are you going there? Like, why are you doing that? It's like, they are afraid of the uncharted, unexplored territory. So if you're watching and you know, this is where your heart's driving you, it's in those outside waters. You have to, like, I'm not saying like go away from your parents or like shut out your parents or isolate yourself from your parents, but let them speak to you, but like almost put a filter on it and be like, look, I'm going to let you talk to me because I love you, but like I'm doing my thing, you know, like I'm welcoming advice, but I'm not going to like let you influence me. I'm going to like kind of put a block on it. I think people should do that. Yeah. Most people are over like in that. So like it is hard if you're wanting to go further and go outside of those waters, you know, it is harder to find people that are like you, but it's important. Just watch videos all day. Yeah. Leave your friends, just watch videos.
And it's like, and especially if let's say you go to the college, right? And let's say parents pay for your like education, right? And then like they have a leverage point on you.
Yeah.
Like for example, my parents, I mean, they had, they have like real estate, and they had this like apartment back in my city. And I mean, they would repeat it like every week, few times, like when we were like communicating, like, hey, there's apartment, you have an apartment. And then they would kind of like have it almost as a kind of like as a leverage. They wanted me to be compliant with their particular path that they saw me, okay, like you have to work in the factory, then I don't know, maybe you become like a supervisor in the factory, you do some other but it's like kind of like within those realms, like not outside of it. But then, you know, we had a conversation with my wife, and she's like, forget it, cut it, throw it away. There's no apartment. There's nothing. At first, it's like uncomfortable, kind of like, because you're using that as a cushion, right? Like as a crutch, right? It's like, oh, yeah, if something would happen, I have like an apartment. And they just would cut it, and then like, you know, back against the wall. And then they have no leverage, and then I'm finally like a free thinker, at least, you know, on that.
Spread your wings.
Correct.
Is your wife Ukrainian as well? Okay, so you met her when you were living there. Did you get married in Ukraine?
So I was in the United States for the first time when I was 18. I met my wife through a friend of mine, so we started communicating. So we communicated for a year, and I decided to just like leave United States. And, you know, all the people, it's like, oh, it's like stupidest decision of your life, you know, my circle. And then we got married. I mean, we were so broke, like, we didn't have any money, so we just went to the city hall, like we signed, and that was it.
Is Ukraine, are you guys Christian, like a Christian country?
Yeah, Orthodox.
Orthodox? Got you.
You Orthodox?
Romanians are Orthodox. In America, they're Pentecostal. They go from Orthodox to Pentecostal.
Oh,
interesting. It's a different denomination.
I
don't think I am a specific denomination. I think I'm just Christian.
But you go to church?
Yeah.
On Sundays? Oh, nice.
Yeah, I read the Bible like every day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So did you see that new study that came out that said the more that a couple spends on their wedding, the higher the probability that they get divorced?
No, seriously.
So you guys didn't spend anything. So you guys have a very good chance. Why do you think people get divorced?
I think overall, like the values with like social media and stuff, they just kind of like got totally destroyed. Because the relationship in general, the way I see it is like there's good days and there's bad days, right? And no matter what, you just like kind of like find the middle ground and just keep moving, right?
Yeah. You think people have the expectation that things should relatively always be good?
Yeah.
And then as soon as like it's not going perfectly and as soon as it's inconvenient, they're like, all right, like I'm going to bounce.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
And they think that they're going to get someone that is perfect because everyone on social media makes it look like everyone's perfect.
Yeah.
But in reality, everyone has flaws.
Yeah.
And no one is perfect except Jesus. And then you go through a relationship with another person and okay, they don't have this problem that your ex-wife had, but now they have this problem that your ex-wife didn't have. It's like, okay, so what did you just wasted time now. I wanted to ask you before I forget, you started doing freelance. What freelance skill
I had no skills. So I just went to, it was elance.com back then. Now it's Upwork.
Yeah.
You know, I go on Elance and I see what kind of skills people are looking for. There's like Google Ads. Like, what the is Google Ads? And there's like search engine optimization. What the is search engine optimization? Created my profile. I would change my profile every few days. Like I see, people looking for search engine optimizations. Okay, I'm a search engine optimization expert, you know? But, you know, the paradigm shift happened because like I actually got paid a few times.
For what service?
One of the biggest payments I got, like there was a guy, he ran this like Japanese denim. He hired me for, I think for conversion rate optimization. I'm like, okay, you pay me based on performance. Okay, if I increase your conversion rate by 1%, you pay me like $1,000, $2,000. I didn't even believe that he would pay me. I had my limiting belief was like, why would someone pay me like $2,000 for anything? And so then what happened was like, I think it was end of the year or something. And it's like around Q4 time probably. And during that period, the conversion rate like exploded, right? Because he was running like sales and just overall like market was buying more. And so the conversion rate increased and I'm like, good, you know, like I increased your conversion rate. and so he paid me like, I remember he paid me $2,000. I was like shocked. I didn't even believe that anyone can pay to anyone like $2,000, but those kind of paradigm shifts happen. And then like over time, like I think someone asked me about Facebook ads. I'm like, yeah, I'm a Facebook ads expert. And you know, I'm like, what is Facebook ads? Yeah. And you know, Facebook ads was so easy back then. Oh, it's a fucking dream. It's like the ads were so basic, like I think banner ads, and we get like 4 or 5x return on ads, but no problem. And I was like, I didn't know what I'm doing at all. But you know, the clients were like, only 5x return? Like I want like 10. Like what the f are you doing?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
5x today is good.
Right? And so that was the time. I discovered e-commerce through like one of the clients. He was doing like drop shipping and he's like, can you run my ads? I pretty much, you know, saw like where he's sourcing his products, how he's selling them. I was selling them pretty much. And I'm like, gee, that sounds pretty simple to replicate. Okay. So I started my own store. I didn't think that one worked out, but the next one after that, after I figured out like the drop shipping model, we did like $4 million in like 12 months or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, $1 million profit. So that was my first million and was life-changing.
And then from there on out, your limiting beliefs were?
Not
at all?
No, because like, so the money I started making more money, but the mindset didn't change much. I was still operating, like doing everything myself. Didn't know how to like hire, fire, like work with other people. Like no one taught me that. And so I would like work 18 hours a day, like my eyes would be like that. And it's not enough to just make money. It's important to also change your identity and change yourself in the process too. Like I know so many, you probably know too, like maybe some crypto guys that are like, have done well for themselves, but then lost it all.
If you make a lot of money too much fast, you almost like don't know who you are. Like if you make your whole life about getting out of that survival phase, about getting money, and then it just happens like that. Yeah. You're like, whoa, okay, now what am I supposed to do now? Because I've been worried about this for so long.
And you don't know how to replicate it.
Yeah,
because the most important skill is to like, let's say, take everything away from you. You'll find your way back, like in, you know what I mean?
I think I would probably get back to where I'm at like 5 times faster.
Exactly.
Did you spend your money? Like, did you buy any crazy cars or jewelry or travel?
No.
Never.
I mean, I like to travel. We go like vacations, like 10 times a year.
No Lamborghini.
No Lamborghini. No, it's so inconvenient. Like I don't know. You have Lamborghini, right?
Not anymore.
Oh, really?
I sold it. Yeah, I bought it because it was a tax write-off.
Oh yeah, it was 6,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, you can write
it's
it
so
off.
Fucking heavy.
Yeah, because they take in account if you have people in the car. So with 5 people in the car, it does go over 6,000 pounds.
Oh, interesting.
Because the average person is 180 pounds. So.
Oh, that's what tax code says. Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to write it off. So I just sold it like 2 months ago or a month ago.
Did you lose a lot of money?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So basically, whatever you saved on taxes, you just
probably. Yeah.
What do you had farms?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. It was the guy that I work with, a salesman at a car dealership. He's literally, we could walk there. LAC. It's the biggest supercar dealership indoor in like North America. It's down the street. I was like, what are we gonna get for this Lambo? And he told me the number. And he started laughing. He's like, let's just call that a learning lesson. Let's just call that a lesson learned. Don't buy a hyped up car at the top.
Wow. If you bought, let's say, G-Wagon, right? It probably wouldn't depreciate that much.
It would have been bad. I don't think it would have been as bad. Because my friend bought a G-Wagon similar, but his wasn't, it wasn't, I don't think it was as expensive. It was cheaper value. So, but it wouldn't have been as bad. But I don't care. I lost my appetite for cars. I don't have an appetite anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really care.
You've had quite a few.
Yeah, I like have gone through quite a few. I still have a McLaren, the 720. And I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, should I get a new car? I told my assistant, I was like, don't let me buy any more cars. So should I get a new car? And she's like, no. And I was like, but the F8, the Ferrari F8, I was like, that's sick. And then I was thinking about it and I was like, if I go and get this car, I'm going to drive it for 2 weeks. It'll be cool. And then it'll be the exact same thing. It'll be like, okay, I don't care. I think I've lost my appetite for now until I can get like a Bugatti or something. I don't know. I'd rather just invest it now. Now I just invest all my money.
Nice.
So I sold the Urus and I'm just like trying to prepare for the end of the world because I think it's coming.
Really? Yeah. You think so?
Not the end of the world. That's dramatic. But like the debt cycle, yeah, just like the politics, like everything.
Recession?
Yeah, like a big bust. I think it's coming in the next 10 years.
10 years?
10 to 20 years, yeah. Because right now, we'll have one more cycle where we go down right now for a little bit. And then when something breaks, they're going to start cutting interest rates again. And they're going to start the new cycle. And then in like 5 to 6 years, our debt will be so big that like we will barely even be able to pay interest on the debt. And then it will be too far gone. And then everything will restart. It happens every like 200 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's like 200-year cycle, 500-year cycle, 40-year cycles, and like 5 to 7-year cycles.
You've done some research on this?
Yeah.
Who do you learn from? Or
I've read books on it, read books. I've watched documentaries on it. YouTubers, analysts at hedge funds. I follow them. They have newsletters. I read their content. They put together content.
Can you name some specific like good sources of information?
Lynn Alden.
Lynn Alden. She's really good with macroeconomics. There's a guy I really like to watch on YouTube. His name is Clear Value Tax. He doesn't go in depth. He just gives like Brian, you know, the Asian guy. I love his videos. For someone like you, right, who's making good money and who also saves money, like invests money, right? What is the best like strategy or approach, right? Do you just like sit on cash and wait, or do you put money in like real estate, like stocks? Like, do you think stocks will go down? Was that whole cycle like, or up, or what do you think will happen?
From what I've researched so far, if you want to prevent yourself from a devastating loss like my father did in 2008, where he lost everything, now he had to restart from the beginning and regain all the momentum. The best thing to do is to be very diversified, and to be diversified in asset classes that are not correlated. So if one thing goes up, doesn't necessarily mean that the other things that you're invested in will also go up. Like, you want to hold assets that will go down when others go up, and when others go up or others go down, this one goes up, so that you stay like balanced the whole time. You don't want to be going up and down all the time. The way I do it right now is I have 30-ish% in business, and though that business is divided up in either actual businesses that I buy, some ETFs that like the Russell 1000 or Russell 2000, the emerging markets fund, so investing in emerging markets in developing countries, S&P 500, so the biggest companies in America or in the world, and then a few others. That's also business, investing in those ETFs. And then so 30% there, 30% in real estate of any sort. If you can't access like buildings, like real estate trust funds or REITs, or land or homes, single family homes or multifamily homes, or commercial, but maybe not commercial because it's that's kind of a bubble right now. And then 30% in reserves, and that's 90%. And then your last 10% in speculation. So I'm like plus or minus 3 to 5% in each of these categories. So in the reserves, you have like 10% gold. I have, some people say more, some people say less. I have like 5-10% cash, and then I have the rest in money markets, maybe like 3% cash actually, and the rest of that in money markets. So that's my reserves, because they're highly liquid, and it's good for having it if you want to buy an opportunity.
Because it's one thing to make money, right? It's another thing to preserve it and
Whole different thing.
Yeah.
Completely different thing. A lot of people make money and they lose it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a whole different thing. So that's what I've been researching for the last like year.
Oh, really? So what kind of like what sparked you on to get on that journey?
I was worried about inflation because my money was not. I didn't understand where my money should be. Like I had a lot of money for me, and I was like, I don't know what I should be doing with this. It's just kind of sitting here and here a little bit, and it's like not my decisions that I'm doing with it. It's not like research-based intelligent decisions. After doing research for my 2023 recession video, I was worried that in 2024, when the Federal Reserve cuts interest rates and they start creating more money, inflation is going to come back. And if I have too much money in cash, it's going to lose its value, like a lot. And it doesn't, like for normal people that have like $1,000 saved up or whatever, like, oh, 10% inflation, whatever, not a big deal. But if you have millions of dollars in cash, 10% inflation is like, okay, I just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. If I'm going to work and making hundreds of thousands of dollars and then I'm losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'm working an entire year for no reason, right? So it's like, I'm like, I need to make sure that I'm not losing money. I need to be safe here. And then once I got this down, I need to go and continue to make more money and put it into my system that is safe so that it can grow over time. And another thing I learned, which is really interesting, is like the compounded annual growth rate. So some people, if you are kind of lazy about this when you do make a lot of money, say you start off with 100% and then you gain 10% in a year. So the average stock market return is 10%, 7% adjusted for inflation. So you gain 10% in 1 year, so you get to 110% of your original value. And then next year you lose 10%, so you go down to 99 because it's compounding. So you got 10% 1 year, but the next year you went down 10% and now you're down 1% from where you started, even though you went up by the same amount that you went down, but you ended up with less. And I was thinking about that. I was like, that's interesting. I've never thought about that. So when you take a big loss, like when you take a big loss in your net worth, if you have millions of dollars, if something happens and you lose a lot of money, those like big drawdowns slow you down a lot because money compounds over time. So they will slow down the compounding process, and you might only end up with this amount of money. Say, for example, you start with $1 million when you're 18 years old, you might end up with like, who knows, like $20 million if you invest it with normal drawdowns and stuff. But if you protect yourself and you expose yourself to more speculation, you could end up with $100 million if you're smart about it. And you don't have to do anything very differently. You just have to be smart and protect yourself. So that's why I was like, as I was researching it, this is what I learned. And yeah, that's what I've been getting into.
Interesting. Wow. This is so fascinating. Do you spend like a lot of time, like half of your day on this? Like, do you want to kind of just, you proactively like investing in certain things, like day trading?
No, it's no trade. It's really just like the same thing. It's just the strategy of how you do it. So it's about like the percentages that you diversify and how you diversify it. And you don't have to like actively do it. I think it's just like when you do it with the specific intention and based on research and that, then you can kind of set it and forget it. But going back to what I was just saying about the how if you gain 10% and then you lose 10%, you actually end up with less. To avoid drawdowns, which slow down the compounding effect, you have to rebalance these things every quarter. So that's what I've started to do as well, where say, for example, in one sector of my portfolio, something happened really good, like gold is up like $70 in the last couple of weeks. So next quarter, I'm probably going to have to sell gold because I've done super well in it. So I will sell gold and I will take the money, the profits from gold, and I will put it into something that has done poorly quarter one, so that it rebalances it and brings it back. So going back to the example where I said if you have like 100%, this way you don't start the next year with 99%. You start the next year back to 100%. And then you give yourself the opportunity to take advantage of compound growth. That's the only thing you have to do is you have to rebalance every quarter. It's simple. I have a Google sheet. I built it and it like automatically tracks the percentages that I want to have, and then it breaks it down. I have how much money I have invested in each of those things, and then I have like where I'm at and where I should be, and then I have a percent spread between the two, and then a value spread between the two. And then I color coordinated it so that I can see like, hey, gold is doing really well. It's red. Now it's a red box and it tells me how much gold I need to sell. And then I can say, hey, business is kind of struggling. So sell $19,000 worth of gold and invest it in this business category. So I built a sheet. I could share it with you if you want.
Yeah. We'll share with people watching. I know you have an agency, right?
I do have a Google Ads agency. Yeah. It's pretty much on autopilot. I don't really I don't do anything. Yeah.
Nice. So who do you work with for that business?
I work with 2 people. One person manages the clients and then another person bills the clients, and that's it. So I have 2 people that work for me there. That's
nice.
it.
Is that a big focus for you, like growing that agency? No?
It used to be.
Yeah.
It was in 2021, right after COVID. That's when I started it. And it was a big focus, and it was doing well. And, I look back and I feel like I wish I would have sticked with it. Because I wanted to continue to develop like my business skills and to continue to see that to grow. I wanted to get it to like multiple 6 figures per month. We never even got to 6 figures. So I think the highest month we had was 60,000 with the agency, which was good because we had a lean team and it was very profitable. So I was running a pretty good business. I think for our clients, we generated like between, I say 10 is very conservative. I think it's more like 15 or 20 million in revenue for our clients. So we knew how to run Google Ads and we were good. And we work with some pretty good brands that are pretty recognizable. So it was a good experience, but ultimately I had to stop working on it because I got into other businesses that were making me way more money. So I just couldn't afford, it didn't make sense to keep working on that.
Opportunity cost.
Yeah. So, but I worked on the agency for about like a year or 2.
Interesting. How do you usually spend your time on a day-to-day basis?
I'm a pretty relaxed person. I'll spend like probably 2-3 hours learning and researching, maybe more, like 2 to 4 hours on average a day, learning and researching and watching helpful content or reading like a book or something. And then I'll spend like 2-3 hours with my girlfriend, maybe 1 to 2 hours with friends. And then the rest of the time I'll sleep for about 8.5 hours a day, like 8 hours a day. For the rest,
you measure your sleep like Oura or something?
I just do it with my Apple Watch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I try not to set an alarm. I don't wake up very early, like usually rarely 7:30, but usually between 8 and 9. That's like most of the time where I wake up. Aside from all of that time, the rest of the time I'm working, just doing like what I have to do, like doing my tasks and stuff. Like work for me is communicating with people. That's my whole job. I don't do anything. I just talk to people all day long. Like if I go camping on Friday, I don't have service on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I get home at Monday at 9 a.m., I'll probably have 90 messages that I have to go through. Probably more. Probably like 150. Between like my email, my main email, my Slack, my WhatsApp, my message, my Lark, all these communication platforms, I'll have like 150 messages that I have to respond to. So that's what I do all day. I just talk to people. I don't know. You're probably similar because you're running things, right?
Yeah.
You're not actually running the ads, or maybe you are, or you're not like...
Oh, I'm not running ads for like last 3 years or so.
You're just managing the people that do it, right? Hey, we have a problem. What's the problem? Okay, this is the problem. All right, this is how we're going to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now we need someone else to help this problem. Hey, can you help me with this problem?
Yeah.
That's all we do. We just talk to people all day long.
Yeah, we're facilitating. Cool. So any kind of, for people watching Sebastian like 5 years ago, for example, how would you coach that kid?
Bia Heza asked me the same question.
Yeah.
And I had such a bad answer. You know anything about like quantum mechanics? So there's this phenomenon where if you want to measure the spin of an electron and you want to measure how fast it's traveling through space, you can't measure both precisely. You can only focus on one. The closer you pay attention to how fast it's spinning, the less you can see how fast it's moving. And if you just see how fast it's moving, you cannot see how fast it's spinning. Something along those lines. Okay, I'm not a scientist. I think that same logic applies to giving people advice. People are so different and so complicated, and I can give very, very broad advice that will apply to a lot of people, but it's not going to specifically help you. Like it will go over your head. Or I can give very, 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 very specific advice that will only be helpful to like 800 people out of millions, right? Very specific advice. So it's hard for me to give advice to people because I don't know what position you're in. So I just have to give broad advice. So the advice I would give to myself is just, okay, if you're 18, you need to figure out what you want to do. Like you want to figure out what you want to be in life or what you want your life to look like. Or if that's too hard, if you don't know, figure out what you don't want your life to look like. Start there, because that might be easier. It might be easier to picture what you don't want. Hey, do you want to be divorced when you're 50? Probably not. Okay, so I don't want that. Do you want to be struggling for money when you're 50? Okay, probably not that either. And then figure out what the opposite of that is. Figure out, okay, so this is what I do want now. And then start there and work your way back. So how do I get there? Okay, well, I need to start working on my money. Okay, I need to understand relationships better and I need to study relationships. Do that and figure out, like, try to figure out what you want in your life. That's what I would kind of tell myself, because I was kind of aimless. I was kind of just like in the dark, in the woods, you know, just trying to like, hey, I don't really know what's going on. I'm just going to go in this direction and hope I don't get like eaten by coyotes or something. You know, I was just trying to figure it out. So that's probably my advice.
And I'll probably just add to this, like, find whatever, like, the best company, the best person that you can potentially learn from, and find your way to work with that person.
Yeah.
Even for free. That will probably give you like the biggest kind of like learning experience.
It'll save you a lot of wasted time.
So even all of those like belief systems, like everything that you need to adopt in order to become, you know, let's say top person in that particular industry, you can learn that so much faster if you're surrounded by top people in that field.
Yeah, I agree. That's great advice. Yeah.
Even like Donald Trump, if you think, you know, either people like him or don't like him, but you know, I mean, his dad was his mentor pretty much in a way. You take Ken Griffin, Citadel, he had this like mentor at early age that pretty much taught him many things, gave him like capital, I think, to manage, and that's how Citadel started.
Same thing with Jamie Dimon, Chase, JP Morgan. He worked, I think, with somebody, I forgot his name, something with an M, and this guy like mentored Jamie and took him under his wing, and like they were partners. And the guy was older and Jamie was younger. So like that's like a common relationship.
Yep.
When you have like a old killer and like a new killer, they partner up because the old guy wants to benefit from his energy and his drive, and he also wants to teach him, and then the young guy wants to learn from the old guy. Yeah. So it's a common thing. It's beneficial both ways. Unfortunately, his mentor stabbed him in the back and betrayed him. Then Jamie went to JP Morgan and they were running it very good, and he like bought his mentor's bank. And then,
really?
Like now he's like, now you work for me, and now he's the king. So yeah, but I think it's good advice. Saves you a lot of time.
Yeah.
You know.
It requires you to put aside like your ego, right? In many cases, people have successful business and then ruin it because they think that they know everything.
There's more that you don't know than you do. Even if you know everything, you probably don't know a lot more than you do know.
And it's fascinating to think about you that, like what you said, you're reading Bible, you're reading these financial things. You kind of like constantly keeping that curious mind. I think this is.
I love it. If I had one wish, it'd be to remember everything I could ever read. I would spend all day learning things, but I forget 80, 90%, 95% probably.
Sebastian, thank you so much, my man.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And
it was nice to talk to you.
Yeah, and guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll have Sebastian Instagram. You can follow him, his YouTube channel, and he has amazing content on his YouTube channel as well. And thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you again.